So I said to myself after Christmas, when I'm training for the London Marathon, I'm off the dating apps completely. So that is what I want to talk about to you now, because I feel like this is like hard for some people to do. And I want to talk to you about my experience being off the apps, because it has been so positive. Hello, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. I hope we're all okay. The UK is experiencing a heat wave at the moment. It's 9:30 in the morning and it's 22 degrees on the 1st of May in spring. It's glorious. The weather has been absolutely glorious. And it was the London and Manchester Marathon on Sunday. And I think the temperatures up north I know were warmer than the temperatures down south. But I think it was like 21, 22 degrees and people were running marathons. So if you're listening to this and you completed the London or the Manchester Marathon, then fair play to you. I take my hat off to you. I love running in the heat. I used to absolutely hate it. I was definitely a winter runner, but now I absolutely love it. So Sunday for me would have been like perfect weather conditions. And I think that you just adapt and you know what your body needs when the weather has changed. And I would much rather it be too hot than it be really cold or raining. And there'd be nothing worse than running 26 miles in the rain. And I know that people went out there, especially like the people that were trying to get good times. I know that that would have been disappointing for them because obviously your body needs more hydration when the weather's warmer. But I saw a lot of people being quite negative about it. And I was like, guys, it's perfect. Like, I love running in the sun. I wasn't gutted that I didn't run the marathon this year. I think it was the best decision that I could make. However, it was a bit disappointing when I saw the weather and I thought, you know what, I'd have absolutely have loved to have been on that course on Sunday just because the weather was just like my type of weather conditions. But well done to everybody that raced. I saw loads of you. Obviously, I've got my running account. So Medal Monday on Monday was like full. It was just a sea of different coloured ribbons on the medals for everybody. And I don't know whether they're going to do the marathons on the same days again next year. I know a lot of people like to run them back to back. And I think I said this in a couple of episodes when I was talking about the marathon. I don't know why they put the marathons on the same day. I don't know whether it has anything to do with volunteers. I don't know. I don't know. I can't work out why they put them on the same day because people were so torn and as to what marathon to do. But also, like, I was really lucky because last year I ran the Manchester Marathon and then I knew people running the London, and Manchester was on one weekend and I was able to go to London the next. And I think it brings more crowds in. Although, did I read that the London Marathon ballot was the biggest last year? So I have signed up for the ballot next year. I said no marathons in 2026, just because I didn't run this year. I didn't run this year because I was injured. I said no marathons in 2026. There is loads of stuff that I want to get done next year. My priorities are going to shift hugely next year. So I don't know whether I'll stick to that, but I have signed up for the ballot. She says all of this, having signed herself up for the ballot. So we'll see. Never say never. Maybe I'll do a winter one instead. I don't know. My dad was saying to me yesterday, he was like, why don't you just get okay with doing halves? And I think that was like a good piece of advice. I've signed up for a couple of halves throughout the year. So I'm basically being now very, very disciplined with my shins. I clearly suffer with shin splints. I went out for my first run. If you follow me on Patreon, you'll know this because I said this on my Patreon on Wednesday. Went out for my first run on Tuesday. And I have to be mile led now, half mile led. And that means that I run half a mile, stretch, check for pain, walk for a bit, carry on running. And I feel like I've gone back to doing couch to 5K, but it is the best thing for me. I mean, the last run that I did when I stopped running was like 2 miles. The run previous to that was 16. So I was up to 16 miles. I've not run for 7 weeks. And everyone was like, get on the bike, go on the cross trainer, like keep your cardio up. But my physio was like, no, just rest. Like it's just going to make you miss running more. If I was in the gym and I was on a cross trainer, I'd want to be on a treadmill. So I completely cut out my cardio. I stopped doing like any sort of like Pilates cardio because of all the jumping and the impact on my shins and stuff. Oh my God. I cannot believe how quickly you lose it. Like, it's wild because you've got muscle memory, and I know that it's going to come back really quick because my fitness is there. But my God, do you lose it quickly? I was blowing up the hills. And I remember I had a really good 7-mile run on my training plan. I can't remember what week we were in. And there's a really big hill by my house, and people do like hill sprints up and down it. It's a killer. And I either have to run up it, and it's a short burst incline, or I have to run up a slow burning incline, or I can run down it. But I ran up it on Tuesday and I had to stop. I was very tired. I was like, oh my God, like I'm blowing. I've lost my fitness quicker than I thought I would. But like I said, it will come back, and being mile led is going to be good for me because I'll have to stop, and I won't feel like I'm stopping because I have to. Not like have to, but I won't feel like I have to, run for like 1.5 miles, be absolutely gasping for air and then stopping. I'm like easing myself back into my run. That was on the agenda. That was a big thing on the agenda this week. It was like, get back out for my run. I wasn't running the marathon this weekend. I went out with my friends. I think I said last week, I went out for a bottomless brunch. We took one of my best friends who hasn't drank since 2023, since she had her first baby. We took her out for a drink, numerous drinks, and had a lovely time. My girl group was so close. We don't talk 24/7, but when we get together, it's like we talk 24/7. It's just really nice to catch up with them. And then the sun came out on Sunday and the weather was lovely. I was nursing a bit of a sore head, but I just sat out in the garden and I saw my parents yesterday, and my mum was like, why are you so brown? And I don't think I look that tanned on this video, but I have actually caught the sun and I plan on topping my tan up all day today. And I think it's supposed to be nice weather tomorrow and nice weather on Saturday as well. Obviously, we're going into the bank holiday weekend in the UK. So I've got some lovely, lovely plans for the weekend. My best friend's flying back to Australia next week, which is really sad. So I'm going to go out for lunch with her on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, I'm going out with all my friends. We've decided that on bank holiday, we tend to just sit in like a beer garden or a pub. And down the road from us, there is a meadow and then there's a brewery. I think that's how you say it, on site, like a big pub, basically. So we're like, why don't we get our steps in and then go for a beer and go to the pub? It will feel like we're actually doing something before we go and sit in the sunshine. But I'm going to make the most of the weather I'm going to make the most of the weather. I'm going to go and be dead social. And I did say to my sister, actually, that we could take the paddle boards out, but I think she might be going away. But it's definitely paddleboarding weather. It's definitely weather where you want to be by a beach in the UK and like swimming in the sea, doing all of that. It's just lovely. I was saying to somebody yesterday that we were just chatting, and I was saying, if the weather in the UK was like this, like guaranteed from February to November, I'd be a happy bunny. I would not be talking about moving abroad. I would not want to be in the sunshine 24/7. I would be so happy and so content. I feel like November and December have to be cold because it's Christmas, it's the winter and all the rest of it. But I just cannot be doing with like September, October, November, December, January, February, all the way up until May. And then we get sunshine. And then I've just seen in the corner of my screen that it says temperatures due to drop next week. It will go back to being like average weather. It's just so annoying. And like I said, I wouldn't complain about living in the UK. And I don't complain about living in the UK. I wouldn't complain about the weather in the UK if it was like this all the time. It's just so nice, although kind of distracting because I've made sure that I've pushed like all my content creation to like Thursday, Friday this week so I can basically do it in the garden. It can be quite distracting. I get a little bit carried away. And my friend Taylor texted me this morning. She was like, I sit so bored, like I just run out of things to do when I sit in the sun. And I'm like, I can never get bored sitting in the sun. That is not something that I suffer with. That's my little debrief. I've had a couple of people sign up for my Patreon this week. So thank you if you are new over there. I released 2 extra episodes over there on Wednesday. So if you do want some additional content, you know where to go. 2 extra episodes a week, £4.50 a month. It's less than a price of coffee, and you get 2 extra episodes and me on tap. Got some really good conversations going on over there at the moment. One of my followers reached out to me yesterday and was just like, I really need some advice about getting a closure conversation from my ex. And like, we're just having like a chat about it and talking through what I would have done and how I would have approached that situation. And hopefully these conversations help. And I think sometimes with going through these conversations, and I know that a lot of the followers that I have on there feel the same, it's like, sometimes you do feel like you're repeating yourself to your friends and family. And especially I felt like this because I felt like, because no one was really going through it at the time, I really felt like I was trying to not talk about it all the time, but like it was consuming me. And then when people asked about it, I was in a position where like I didn't want to talk about it. It was like one of those things where when people asked, you didn't want to talk about it, but then something would happen and you'd be like, oh God, like I need to bring that up with someone. I need to talk that through. And there were so many parts of my breakup. And when I first was left, there were so many parts of me that was so embarrassed about what I was going through, because I was embarrassed about how it was being handled on the other side. And so I was embarrassed to say to people like, oh, you know, people were saying like, has he reached out? And I was like, no. And it was embarrassing for me because people were saying like, what, after however many years? And I was like, if I had the answer to that, I wouldn't be sat here wondering it myself. And I think there is a lot of, not pressure, but there is definitely an element of like embarrassment and guilt. And I speak about this on my Patreon about being able to own your breakup and not feel that sense of embarrassment about how they're acting. And it goes back to what I always say about the fact that like you were at one stage a team and you did see you both together as whole. And so when his or her behavior is like disrespectful, you do feel like you can't say anything. Well, I felt like I couldn't say anything because I was so embarrassed about how he was acting. When people say to me and they're like, they come to me and they're like, I don't know how to act. I don't know how, like, can I have some advice? That's what's good about my Patreon, because I feel like on my socials, it's great. My Instagram DMs, great. TikTok DMs, great. But I've not checked my TikTok DMs all week. I check them on a Friday because I get so many and it would just overwhelm me. Whereas my Patreon, I get notifications. It's a really nice way to message. And I feel like I really have built like relationships with everybody over there. And I hope that everybody on there feels like they've got a relationship with me. And if they haven't reached out, then they can reach out. And it's not going anywhere. That platform is only growing realistically. And there will be some changes made like along the way. At the moment, it's serving the purpose that I want it to serve. And so I feel like even if you come over and you have a look at the episodes and you're a bit like, oh, there's a couple of episodes that I'd like to listen to, and then you cancel your subscription after a month, like that's fine. Those episodes aren't going anywhere. Like you can always refer back to them and you get 2 a week. And that my Patreon's been going, I think, for about a year. So you actually get more content over there than you get with me on the hour. If you did want any more content, then head over to my Patreon. I know, and I have had this held over my head by a couple of you, I know I've been talking about a Detach From Your Ex course, and I know it's not done yet, and I know it's not been released. I have been crazy busy, and I put my heart and soul into my content, and I want to make sure that I can sit down and put my heart and soul into it. So it is nearly done, but there are some things that I wanted to change. And I sat with my sisters last night. We go out for dinner and I sat with them and they were talking about my courses and I was talking about price points. And I want to make sure that it's at the right price point for what you get. And so I'm going to review what I've put in it. It is just a PDF. Download this one. There is no videos on there. It is just an easy link that you can just download the guide off of. And so, like I said, there's no video element into that one, but there are video elements in the Become the Strongest Version of Yourself course. That course has sold so many this week. I don't know why, because I've not spoken about it on any of my socials. I'm having a bit of a break from TikTok because I'm changing my content next week. So I've got a big fat bank holiday weekend of just content, content, content. And I feel like I've used TikTok more this week for research than I have done for putting my content out there. I've got 212,000 followers over there, which blows my mind. And I want to make sure that if even a quarter of those followers are getting the right sort of content. I don't post content for posting content's sake. I think when you've established your following, people will come back to you. So especially when you've got quite a big following, my Instagram is growing because two of my videos went viral within a week of each other. Couldn't predict that. Actually, no, that's wrong. I did do a trend and I knew that was going to be popular. The second video that I did, I didn't realize that was going to be popular, but it drew quite a few people in. And this is the whole aim to me sitting online. I want to be targeting a certain audience. And I feel like the videos that I've been putting out recently have targeted that audience for me. So yeah, if you did want any additional content, if you feel like, Lou, I'm really, really struggling, or you know somebody that's really, really struggling, direct them to the links in my bio. There is the courses, my Patreon, all the links to my socials. If you are listening to this on audio and you want to go over and listen to it on YouTube or vice versa, all those links are there. All those links are accessible. And if you have any difficulties or any questions about anything, please just message me. I send out like an email, like a confirmation email when you buy the courses. My email's on there. Like you can always just send me a quick email if you were struggling with anything to find anything, or just send me a quick DM. It might be easier. Anyway, this week I am doing a very popular requested topic, and this fills my heart because I get people that listen to my podcast are either obviously going through a breakup, they've just started their breakup journey, or they're like, I get people messaging me saying like, I went through a breakup in 2020, or content's exactly what I needed, and now I'm in my single era. I know that I have heartbroken to single people. Like the scale of people that I have is like one end they're heartbroken, one end they're trying to find their feet. A majority of people sit in the middle where they're like struggling and like trying to find their feet. However, I wanted to do an episode today for the people on this end of the spectrum about dating apps, because everybody has questioned me about whether I got on dating apps, whether I've done the dating scene, and how I feel about them. And I feel like 2025, I've been on a huge journey with dating apps and just being single, being a single girl. So I'm going to talk about that in this episode. I'm going to do like the pros and the cons. I'm going to talk about my experiences. I have always said that this podcast, my content online, I made the decision, and you'll hear me say it all the time, that I do not post my new life online. It was a decision that I just decided to make. It was so weird because I am going to say this, and I'm going to say this with chest. I used to post my life on social media with my ex permanently. It's constantly very accessible for people to find. He did not. He barely used social media. He very rarely posted. That's now like flipped on its head. It's like, if I wanted to find out about my ex, I probably could. I could probably tell you who's hanging around with, what he did with his girlfriend last week. Like, a lot of things have changed in my life. And that was one of the sorts of things that was funny, because I used to always ask why he didn't post me on social media. And now I don't know whether that's just like a learning curve for him. So I'm not saying it's negative in what he's doing, but it's just funny because like people pick up on it. And a lot of people say like, oh yeah, like he posts a lot more online now and you post a lot less. And don't get me wrong, my Instagram, my private Instagram, is actually open. I've not posted at all this year on my grid. I think the last time I posted was New Year's Eve. And I post occasionally on my stories. I have a private Instagram story, which I post my new life on. There's a handful of very close people on that close friends group. So if I've posted something on my personal Instagram story and you can see it, it's something that I don't mind people seeing. You know, I'll repost like funny videos and stuff like that. I post more of like what I've been up to, what I'm doing on my private Instagram story. But even there, I don't really post a lot. And I was a serial story poster. Like when I go back through my archives, I'd be doing like 3, 4, 5 stories a day when I was in a relationship. And it's just not me. I do keep some details to myself because I don't want to put everything online, and people do want to know everything, which is fine because I feel like it is part of a journey. But at the minute, with where I am in my life, I'm so happy and so comfortable to talk about being single and the dating experience that I've had, the dating apps, where I'm at now. And I want it to be beneficial to you guys because it's a conversation that I have more and more and more. And people do come to me for advice and say, like, do you advise getting on dating apps and stuff? So I do have a lot to say about it. But what I just wanted to say is that I am keeping my life private. And people think I'm joking when I say, if you do not know me, you will not see my partner until I probably post maybe a wedding photo. I want to keep my relationships and that side of my life completely off social media. And so maybe I'll talk about it more on my Patreon where I'm like protected. I've done like a single girl series like over on my Patreon, to be fair, that I need to like carry on doing. I've had so many requests to do so many episodes that I've kind of lost track with that. That's also going to coincide into my TikTok as well. I'm going to do like a single at 32 diaries because I just feel like not a lot of people are talking about it. And I feel like it's one of those things that is kind of like a taboo subject, but in a way that people don't talk about age. And when I've posted the video that went viral, it got 500,000 views on TikTok. The amount of abuse that I got about my age and the fact that, you know, I'm 32, I'm not getting any younger, and I know all of this. However, I also know that life can change overnight because I've been through an experience where my life changed overnight. And so I know that, you know, the people and the trolls and the nasty people online that were saying all these nasty, horrible things, they don't know anything about me. And if I was to get bogged down in that, then half the stuff that I was like filtering and deleting would have really got to me. But because I'm so secure in where I am, I was just like, oh, whatever. Like, I don't even care. But I just wanted to say that before I started this episode because I didn't want people to just presume I was holding certain things back. Like, I definitely am not willing to talk about certain things on the internet. But anyway, this is going to be like a good, fun sort of episode. I hope you can take a lot away from it, and hopefully it's going to help you in your journey and your chapter beyond your breakup. So if you are going through a breakup and you're like not there yet, this is an episode that you can come back to. Or if you're like on the fence about dating apps and you're not sure, this is going to be a good episode for you. Or if you feel like really shit about dating apps as well, like this would be a good episode for you. So without further ado, guys, let's get into it. So I have 2 dating app journeys. I got onto dating apps at the end of 2023. And that was because everybody was like, just try it out. And I obviously went through my breakup in 2022. In Feb, I will talk so openly about the fact that I healed so slowly and out loud for about a year. And even beyond that year was difficult. And I moved into my new house in the May and like the start of the summer. I cannot believe that at the end of May, I've been in this house for 2 years. It's just wild to me. I got my keys on May bank holiday. It was the best. But yeah, that's just crazy to me. But I think when you go through a breakup, everyone's like, oh my God, you need to get back out there. I remember I went away with my friends, and my friends all sat around and they were like, you just need to go out and date. You just need to have fun. And I understood where that came from. It came from a place of like caring. It came from a place of advice, but I was not ready. And I was a girl that had never been on a date before. I had never met up with a stranger. I was in a relationship from the age of 14. I came out of my relationship at 29. I hadn't been with anybody else in that time to go on a date. Of course, I was going on dates with my ex. However, different scenario. So when everyone was just telling me to get back out there, I was like, right, it's very different. And I think dating as an adult is incredibly different. It's very hard because not a lot of people go out anymore. So all my friends that were giving me advice had done their single era from like the age of say 23 to 28, where everyone was going out. Everyone was going to like Ibiza and Ayia Napa and, you know, going out at the weekends, and bank holidays were huge. And everybody was able to meet people in a social environment, and dating apps weren't massive around that time. I remember like 3 of my best friends all being single at the same time, and I don't ever remember all of them talking about dating apps. One of my friends was on quite a few of them, but I don't really remember there being a lot of like, oh my God, you need to get on this dating app. Oh my God, you need to get on that dating app. I don't really remember that. So they kind of did their single era in a social time where everyone was social. And then I think as life progressed, obviously then we had COVID where you couldn't be social. Dating apps obviously boomed then because everybody was stuck inside. No one was doing anything. No one was allowed out. So that social element of side of dating died and everyone went online. And I know that apps have been around for years and I know that they've been big for years, but I feel like COVID made the apps boom because you could set up a profile and chat and it's so easy. And so I was kind of a bit apprehensive about it because I was like, I'm going to have to meet somebody somehow. I didn't really know why I was getting on the apps because I knew that I didn't want to be in a relationship. It kind of eased in my mind that like they were good and that they were helpful and that you could utilize them. And when I want to get in a relationship, they're going to be there. It was kind of like, it was like calming the future side of me to say like, hey, do you know what? The dating apps aren't as negative as people say. And, you know, you can use them and you would find somebody that you know, would find attractive on there and all the rest of it. And so I made a profile and I have only used one dating app. Actually, that's a lie, I've used 2. But I've only used one on my own, and that was Hinge. So I was on Hinge, and I asked my friends, and I was just like, what is the best dating app for me to get on? And they said Hinge. So, because you have the prompts, it's not just a case of swiping. And so I made my profile around that October 2023. And I was like a rabbit in headlights. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to start up a conversation. I didn't know if I needed to start up a conversation. It was wild. And I went on one date. No, I went on 3 dates with one person from that dating era. He was lovely. He was really nice. We had loads in common. He was training for the marathon. I was training for Manchester at the time. He was doing London. And he was just so sweet and so nice. And he was the first person that took me out on a date. He made loads of effort because I had basically struck up a conversation with him and said like, I'm really new to this. And he was like, I'm really new too. Like, you know, I'm out of a relationship. This is like the second time I've been on this dating app. So I was like, I've never been on a date. And saying that to somebody was almost like, what? And it would strike up a conversation. And I feel like he was so open with me that I was so open with him. And it was so nice. I feel like I had a really nice dating experience with him because I was relaxed. We went and did Christmassy things because it was over Christmas. He took me out for my birthday. So first date we went on, we did like a walk, went to a pub near him. Second date, we did dinner for my birthday. And third date, we did a Christmas market. So we went on 3 dates. It was really nice. And for me, that was like a really positive dating experience where I had gone on purely on like the fact that he made me laugh. His profile was funny and he wasn't typically my type at all. And he wouldn't be necessarily somebody that I would say like, oh, you know, he's definitely my type. He's got this, he's got that. But I'm a sucker for a sense of humor. I always say to people, and I'll probably say on here as well, that like, I think I'm really funny and like sense of humor is everything for me. And he made me laugh and he made the dating world seem less daunting. And then at Christmas, I just had the conversation with him and I said, look, I'm really not looking for something and I don't want to stall you in finding somebody because I'm just not there yet and I don't want to waste your time. And he was looking for something serious and I just wasn't. And I think I've said this before, as long as you are communicating that, the sort of pressure to see him again when I wasn't sad that, you know, he didn't want to see me again because he wanted something serious. And it was nice. And after that and after Christmas, I obviously lock in January for my marathon training. And so I just came off them. And when I say I came off them, I had the app running in the background. I was still able to match with people, still I was able to chat, but I didn't date again until the following year. So I had it running in the background, and there were people that would just come on and chat and, you know, send you a couple of messages, and you find yourself swiping through, seeing like, you know, changing your locations and stuff. And I didn't have my location set for around near me because I didn't want to see anybody on there. And I'm just going to touch on that. So for me, I knew that my ex had got into a relationship with somebody that he knew. And that came up a lot in our arguments. I was saying it's not fair that you formed a relationship with somebody and a friendship and a bond with somebody before you got out of the relationship with me. And like, you know, he was saying that he wanted to spend the whole summer single, which he did. However, he then got straight into a relationship. So I don't believe that he had any time being officially single in my eyes. Again, like, I'll say that with quite a lot of confidence. And every single time I was like opening this app, I was reminded that like my ex didn't have to do this. Like, my ex is not having to put himself in these situations. He doesn't know how hard dating is because he's not had to do it. He had a friendship, and like I said, he had a bond with his girlfriend. They worked together before they were in a relationship, and that is what everybody kind of wants. It's like the ideal scenario that you know somebody before you start dating them, so it's like not awkward or anything like that. And I would find myself some evenings scrolling through Hinge and thinking, this is so unfair, because like I don't know how I'm going to meet somebody. And that's kind of like why I took a step back. Yes, I took a step back because I was doing 75 hard as well and training for my marathon. And I was chatting to people, but like just not going anywhere, not going on any dates, and saying to people like, you know, I'm just not dating. Like, it was, you know, conversation. It was like messaging a mate at the end of the day. You know, it was that type of thing. I didn't really put any focus onto it. And then weirdly enough, if you've got me on my Patreon, you know this story. I got onto dating apps in October 2024 again properly. Now, I got a referral to a dating app called Raya, and it's only available on iPhones. And the referral came through, and my friend was like, look, I'm going to have it on my phone. I can't believe you've been referred onto this app. It's basically an app where like celebrities date. Let me tell you, the caliber of people on there were like intimidatingly attractive. And because it was uploaded onto my friend's phone, we only kind of scrolled through it when we were together. And so like, I know a lot of people that have been on Raya and had really positive experience. I know people on Raya have really negative experience. It's kind of directed down south. Like, a lot of people are in London. I'm in the Midlands. So like, it was difficult, but like striked up quite a few conversations. But it was always like, if you're ever down in London, that's how they kind of came to a close. If you're ever down in London, just, you know, let me know. And so I was on that one, and then I went back on Hinge properly. And I went on 2 dates with 2 people. And again, I don't know why. I just obviously choose that time of year. It's obviously like cuffing season. It's cold, not a lot's going on, although my life kind of like goes 0 to 100 in those months. But I've got loads of birthdays, my best friends, my sisters, and then Christmas, and Christmas is huge in my house, you guys know that. So I don't know why I get on dating apps in that year. I just chose to get on dating apps in that time of year. And again, I had like really positive dating experience with them. One guy was more my type than the other. The other guy wasn't really my type, but he was dead chatty. And they made the dates fun. But like, I was kind of getting to grips with, not getting to grips, I was kind of realizing that like people were sick and tired of dating apps. And like, I was listening to these guys' experiences, and I was like, oh my God, like this is wild that like they wouldn't do certain things on dates because they've been messed around in the past. And yeah, it was interesting because I'd kind of then was finding my feet in my own life, and I feel like I didn't need to tell them absolutely everything about me. Whereas like the year before, because my breakup was still consuming me, I was just very lucky that I had gone on a date with a guy that had experienced something sort of similar. I think he'd just come out of a 10-year relationship. And so, yeah, I think I'd evolved as a single woman. And so I didn't feel the need to sit in front of somebody and tell them everything that I'd been through on the second date, you know? Whereas like in 2023, I did that. So went on a couple of dates. And again, I was really honest and said, like, I am not looking for anything serious. I'm not even looking for it to progress to something. And I think that's really hard to say to somebody. Like, yes, I want to be out dating, but I don't want to be in a position where I'm like tying myself to somebody. And and I will say this now, that like everybody's perception of dating is different. And so you do have to be quite firm in what your perception of dating is. And I mean that in terms of like, are you dating to date, to go out together for dinner, which was like my perception of it, because everyone was telling me that I deserved it. I deserved to like go and spend time with somebody new, go and be treated nicely and all the rest of it. A lot of people are dating to like have a casual thing, like hook up and stuff. And I think it's really important to differentiate what you are looking for from the off, so then you don't feel pressured. I never felt under pressure to like do anything that I didn't want to do with everybody that I've gone on dates with. So my dating continued out into December. I was still on the apps, still chatting, and I was chatting to more people this time round. And I realized by going on all these dates that like people have a lot of negative things to say about dating websites. And I have made a list of pros and cons when I'd done this episode as to, you know, what I think is good about the dating apps and why I think you should get on them, and what is bad about the dating apps and why I shouldn't, you know, and when you should come off of them. But I feel like dating apps are there for you to form a connection. Like I said, not a lot of people at 32 go out as much as me. I'm constantly meeting new people. I'm in a position where I have a very social group of friends, and I am learning to put myself in situations where I meet new people, because I have already said to myself, and you know, if you've listened to all my episodes or you have me on Patreon, you know that I have said that I am not going to find my next person. My next person is going to find me. It's going to be really organic. It's going to be in an airport. It's going to be all those things. Like, I just know that that's going to happen. And I know that I don't talk about this a lot, but that's because, you know, I believe that in a next life it's already happened. And that's why I'm so solid and so firm that the universe is going to deliver something like that to me, because I believe it and I think like it all the time. Whenever I set foot into an airport, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to meet my husband, you know? So I know that, but I also know that I have to be in a position to be ready and open to it. So in the meantime, I was on dating apps, you know, and seeing what they were about, basically. Like I said, I'd never been on them before. So like I was on them just to see what they were about. But I definitely 100% that like believe they give you hope, because when you come out of a relationship, you think, I'm never going to find somebody. Actually, dating apps, and I know a lot of success stories. I went to a couple of weddings a couple of years ago, actually, and both of those had met on dating apps. One of my best friend's friends, who we kind of like see quite a lot, her and her husband met on dating apps. It does give you hope. Dating apps do give you hope. When you are ready to come into like the dating hemisphere, they do give you hope, 1000%. It can reduce your feelings of being like isolated. It can reduce your feelings of like, oh my God, I'm never going to find anybody, because there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people on these dating apps, and there are different ones. I don't know all of them. Like, there are so many different dating apps. I'm determined to get one of my male best friends on a dating app that's been designed by a woman, where you recommend your male friends. I keep threatening that I'm going to put him on there, and he's like, no, 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 no. Anyway, so I definitely think that it gives you a sense of hope. They are very positive in that respect. I think it can boost your self-esteem massively, because, you know, you only put your best photos on there, and people are going to be saying like, you know, oh my God, you've got this, or like you're stunning, or this, whatever. Lots and lots of compliments. I will say now that I paid for the app, I think Hinge was like £25 a month, because you can get specific with your filters. So I really filtered out everything and was really specific with like height, things like that, whether they had children and everything like that. So I did pay for the additional features, and I think filters out a lot of people that you wouldn't be interested in. And I think that's why I had a positive experience on the apps, because I was specific in what I wanted. So I didn't just sit here scrolling going like, there's no one for me, there's no one for me. I put in my interests. I went on dates with 3 guys that we all had really similar interests. And I think that is why a lot of people don't have positive experience on these dating apps, because they're not getting specific with what they want. They're not getting specific in their types, and, going on dates and it's like, oh yeah, but I went on a date with him, but, he was 5'4", and I don't want a small guy. I want someone to be taller than me. Like, okay, fair, but you can filter those out, and location, how far away they are, and some people don't want to do long distance, some people don't want to do short distance. But that's what I just wanted to say on that, the fact that like I did pay for Hinge. I think it boosts your self-esteem, because like it will say like so and so is matched with you, and you're like, oh, someone's matched with me on Hinge, so I'm gonna swipe up, I'm gonna have a look and stuff. So it gives you that like positive release, like that positive chemical in your brain where you're like, oh, actually, do you know what, like this is giving me a boost for my self-confidence. And also, like I said, like it does give you, like, you can be really specific. I think you can actually filter out everything on the paid version of the app. You can do age, location, religion, height, whether they've got children, whether they drink. One of the guys that I went on a date with didn't drink, and that was great for me, because it made me realize that I didn't want to date somebody that didn't drink. It was really strange. Like, I was ordering wine and he was on Coke. That is not a negative. I'm not saying that's a negative. Just preference for me. I was like, I definitely need somebody that likes a social drink. But you can filter all of those out, and I think it's good for that, because you can decide whether, if you met somebody on a night out, like, and they lived in, I don't know, Liverpool, Blackpool, Manchester, far away from me. If I went out there on a night out, it's like you're already communicating you're already talking about like the long distance thing. You can filter it so it's just around your area should you want to. And so like, I think for like efficiency and convenience, like dating apps, great, like 100%. And I think you definitely learn what you want and learn what you don't want. And so I think that, yes, getting on dating apps can be, like I've just listed a load of positive things there, but like, yes, it can be a positive experience, but you can also take a lot from the experience yourself. But you can think about it as like, it builds your emotional intelligence and like your self-awareness. And like I said, when I went on my the couple of dates with that first guy in 2023, I felt like he needed to know everything about me, and I felt like he needed to know that I was like, just come out of a relationship and stuff, and gone through like a huge breakup. But realistically, he didn't need to know all of that, like. And so then when I went into the second lot of dating, I was more, not reserved, but like I was more aware of the stuff that I was sharing and telling the guys that I was going on these dates with, because I do think you can say too much sometimes. And like I said, it wasn't something that I was looking to turn into long term anyway. It was just short term. And so yeah, I feel like they are my positives on the dating app front. And so now you're probably thinking, Lou, why are you not on the dating apps? Is this where you tell us you've met your husband? Unfortunately, it's not. I found myself on these dating apps towards like December time, getting a bit panicky and really quite like bogged down in the fact that like I wasn't getting a lot of matches. Was it the time of year? Who knows? I don't know. And when I was talking to guys, and then they would just disappear. And I didn't realize that I was sat in this toxic environment. And I've just spoken really positive about the apps, and that's because I've come away from them and been able to look at my positive experience and look at my negative experiences. And my negative experiences was the fact that it became like a routine. I was constantly looking, and then eventually, when you change your location or you make it smaller, you make it bigger, you see the same people coming up. You can refresh the app, you can get on new apps. And it became this environment where I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't even want to meet somebody this way. And I told myself that I didn't want to meet somebody this way. So why was I sat on the apps like panicking that nobody was matching with me, or like the people that I did match with weren't really like my type, or they didn't have the same interests as me, or they weren't funny, or the chat was dead. Like, some people on the apps can make you fear being single because they don't really talk. I had one guy message me like, something like, you look like you belong in O Beach every weekend. You're just like not my type. Some people can be really brutal on those apps. And I was like, I need to get off. So I said to myself after Christmas, when I'm training for the London Marathon, I'm off the dating apps completely. So that is what I want to talk about to you now, because I feel like this is like hard for some people to do. And I want to talk to you about my experience being off the apps, because it has been so positive. And I realised how positive it was the other day when my friend sat on my sofa and he was like, I cannot believe that I've been on 3 dates with this girl and she's just turned around and said that like I'm not for her. And I understand that that is a process. I understand that you're going to get that whether you meet somebody organically or you meet them online. I understand. However, not being on the dating apps for me has given me complete clarity and a complete clearer mind. I was preaching about the fact that I was totally okay by myself as a single woman, but I was literally sitting on these apps trying to not even find, I don't even know what I was like trying to find somebody. Was I trying? I don't know. But I was obviously saying to everybody around me that like I was totally okay with not being with somebody. However, I missed the interaction. I missed, getting to know somebody. I missed all of that. And I was like trying to kind of fill that gap with the apps. And the first month, January, when my friend had also met somebody on the apps. So like our experiences, our journeys in being single had like flipped. She'd met somebody. I was like, I'm off the dating apps. I was like, am I doing the right thing? The first 4 weeks, I was a bit like, oh, I don't know whether I'm doing the right thing here. Have I made the right decision? This is really difficult. I'm struggling with this. And then the next month, I was like, do you know what? This is actually turning out to be really positive, because I don't have to sit on the apps at the end of the day. And when I say I was off the apps, I've deleted my profile. Sorry, I should have said that. When I was off the apps in 2023, I wasn't. I'd stayed on the app. My profile was open throughout 2024. I was just like kind of just ignoring it. I've deleted my profile now. I haven't got a dating app on my phone. I haven't got a profile online. I have nothing. I am off it completely. And I would say that when you come off the dating apps, that's what you need to do. Go cold turkey. Like an addict would go cold turkey if they were like cutting out alcohol, cutting out drugs, cutting out gambling. Go cold turkey. And I spent the first week of this year writing down everything I wanted in my life. And not once did a relationship come up when I was like verbal diarrhea, like writing in a journal. Not once did I think I want a relationship. So it didn't go down there. So for me, dating apps didn't align with my life at all. I will talk, and if you follow me on my Patreon, I talk about being more open to a relationship in 2026. That's where I see my life going, because this year it's all about leveling myself up, leveling up my business, leveling up everything that I've put out online. I want to focus on myself and completely on myself. It was all about, training for the marathon, first quarter of the year, second quarter of the year, third quarter of the year, fourth. I've got big plans for each quarter. It's kind of like when you run a business, you have to think about it like a business for it to work. So I knew that 2025, and much to my mum's stress, I knew that 2025 did not involve somebody. I didn't want to meet somebody. It didn't have relationship in any way, shape or form on this year. Nothing came out into my journal being about a relationship. And off the back of this, the biggest lesson that I have learned is that when everyone's telling you that you just need to get out there and date, if you are not that way inclined, you don't just need to get out there and date. that for me is the biggest lesson that I have learned throughout this whole experience of being on dating apps, is that I am not a casual dater. I'm just not. I didn't realize that I was trying to be like chilled, go with the flow, like sitting in front of somebody saying, hey, like, let's go out on dates, but I don't want anything serious. I'm just not that person. I've dipped my little finger in the dating pool, and I know that the next time that I want to date, or like the next time that I open myself up, will be for a relationship. And I will know that I can say to somebody, I'm looking for a relationship. I think that is the biggest lesson that I have learned. And I wouldn't have learned that had I not gone on the dating app. So this isn't me saying that dating apps are toxic, dating apps are negative or anything like that. I got myself into a negative bubble within the dating app world, and I'm grateful that I've come out of it. But by coming out of it, sitting on my own, being on my own for the past 4 months and not having anything, I've realized that I'm just not like a let's go out on a few dates, but let's sit in front of each other and tell each other that we don't want anything serious. I'm just not that way inclined. I'm not that person. And for that, I know that if I ever do need to go back onto the dating apps, or feel the need to get back onto the dating apps, I can sit in front of somebody and I'm completely in control, because if someone says to me, I'm not looking for anything serious, bang, I'm not into casual dating. I'm totally fine by myself, and I hope that I'm going to spend the rest of this year as a single woman doing what I want to do. And so I can say, well, I've done like a solid full-blown year of not having any presence online on a dating app at all. And so I hope that makes sense in the way that, like, I'm not telling you that they are evil, awful, really toxic. I've pointed out the toxic parts of the dating apps that I found, and then giving you my biggest lesson. And I think if you are in a little bit of like a catch-22, do I, don't I think just be really honest with yourself. Are you getting on there just to make yourself feel better? Because if you are, it's probably going to make you feel worse. If you are not ready for the rejection, do not get on dating apps. And I think you need to fully work out exactly what you want. So then when you're sat on these dates, you can actually say to somebody, this is what I'm looking for, this is not what I'm looking for. And then that makes you feel more secure in yourself and secure going into where you want to go next. And I think dating apps, you can do the casual thing if that's the type of person you are, but I'm just not. And I'm just going to finish off with the fact that I cannot tell you how many organic new connections I have made since being off the dating apps. And I'm always going to be able to get some form of universe type thing into these episodes. And I fully believe that that is because I've taken away the app element in that side of my life, 1000%, without a shadow of a doubt. These connections have come to me, and I've sat down afterwards and I'm like, oh my God, that wouldn't have happened if I did that XYZ, like the butterfly effect. Had I not done that, this wouldn't have happened. And so I've had like such a positive experience being off the dating apps for the first 4 months of this year. And I'll probably do another check-in with you guys in the second quarter of this year, just to tell you how I'm getting on. But I know I started the journey in January, and I wanted to give you an update with how I was getting on with being off the dating apps. And so hopefully you found this episode useful. If you just listened along just for, to just listen to my points and how my experience has been, then I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've been able to take something away from it, if that's why you've came here, to take something away. And honestly, I talk more about this on my Patreon, and being single on my Patreon. I share quite a lot over there. So if you did like this episode and you want more like this, then head over to my Patreon. If you want to chat about anything that I've spoken about in this episode, then just drop me a DM or drop me an email. And I hope you have gorgeous bank holiday weekends. I'm sure I have so many stories to tell on next Friday's episode. And so if you haven't got me on Patreon, guys, I will see you next week. Look after yourself.